analysis assignment, what we're trying to do is assess the applicant's strategic thinking capability. A lot of people might look at a name like game analysis and make the mistake that what that is like a product review. So you would be making a mistake if what you did was list off, all of the features of the game and then synopsize the fiction and then tell me whether you think those features are good or bad. That's not what this is about. Game analysis is your ability to strategically look at a game through a particular thesis filter. So usually the best filter to choose is something that is a strength of your background. So let's say you've got a background in film. You can look at a game through that lens, through the filter of cinematography. I've seen people do that exact thing with Resident Evil 2. One of the applicants looked at Resident Evil 2 through a background in cinematography. They looked at the techniques that the developer used, and they said, well, these techniques are actually borrowed from film, from horror film. And some of them adapt really well to the video game environment, and some of them don't adapt really well at all. So they looked at the different types of techniques that were used in Resident Evil 2 and the efficacy with which they achieved that result of creating fear. That's kind of what we're looking at. Use your background as a strategic filter and show us that you can look at a game not in terms of whether you like the features or don't like the features, but whether or not the features are effective through the lens that you're looking at them from. And that can be anything. You could have a business background and you could be looking at the features in terms of how well those features were designed in order to create a monetization model. You could be looking at these things. I've seen people look at them through the filter of psychology, understanding whether or not you're able to evoke certain types of emotional reactions with the types of features you have. I've seen people look at them through a cultural lens and try to understand why the games are successful in some countries and not successful in others. Anything that is a strength of your background, you can use as a thesis and then look at the game through that thesis. So you're not judging whether you personally like the game or not. You're not saying a feature is good or bad, but you can say the feature is accomplishing a goal according to that lens. If you're able to do that, I think you're actually going to be in much better shape than a lot of people. A lot of people just give me that product review and it's really uninteresting. This is an opportunity for you to use your background and integrate it into the application process. The level design assignment is actually, there's a couple of different ways to look at this. First and foremost, though, that we want to see how much experience that you have with a level editor. It doesn't matter to me whether that's Unity or UE4 or UE5 or something else. What's really important is that you are able to understand how to use space to either tell a story or facilitate gameplay. So what that means is I don't need you to be an artist. You don't need to go into Maya and build your own models. It's completely acceptable to take assets from the UE4 marketplace and integrate them into your level. Because building a level is a lot more than just arranging pretty assets. If you want to be able to show me that you've got aesthetic chops, you need to make an environment where you're considering composition, where you're considering what the whole scene looks like. You could think of this in terms of like a Japanese garden where they actually build the garden and they're conscious of the horizon line in the distance and how all the colors work together. Good scenes in UE4, UE5, Unity, set dressing is super important. Lighting is super important. You don't want to have too many straight lines. You want to break up the straight lines with rubble and grass and things like that. You want to light it so that it not only looks natural, but it actually conveys a tone, conveys a feeling. I've seen people take like a penthouse apartment room and they'll light it multiple different ways. One time they light it and it looks like you're getting ready for an executive meeting. Another time they light it and it looks like Jason's hiding up there somewhere and you're all going to die. And another time they light it and it looks like somebody is getting ready for a romantic evening in the penthouse. You can use lighting to convey emotional content. You can use set dressing and composition to convey emotional content. That's one style that can really grab people's attention. A different style is where you show your chops in technical terms. Maybe you're going to use blueprints or C Sharp if you're in Unity. In that case, you need to be able to show that you can make stuff happen in the engine. And don't go simple and just show me like a door opening and a trigger box and a pressure plate. Like anybody can do those. If you're going to try to impress us with your blueprinting capability, then stretch, reach, do something interesting. I would also say that you can combine those two things together, and you'll probably really be in good shape. Scenes, by the way, are even more than just pretty assets and good lighting. You can also, a way of thinking about a scene is understanding how the use of space in the scene accommodates one style of gameplay or another, one genre of gameplay or another. A level for a first-person shooter is very different than a level for an RPG. It's very different than a level for a platformer. So you can combine all of these thinking together, these thoughts together, and produce. You could spend a lot of time making a level for a platformer in a creepy environment that's well lit, that kind of suggests an attitude and a tone, and you can use blueprints and things like that to bring it to life. To put the world in motion. You can even, if you want to, throw sound effects and music into these things. At the end of the day, if you make a product that I can look at and I can understand how you would use this in a game environment and why it would be effective, then you're going in the right direction. Now, you don't need to send me the UE4 file. You don't need to send me the Unity file. Probably the easiest way to do it is once you've built your level, do a little fly through and then turn it into a video that you can post up on YouTube as a private video or something like that, and then we'll download it and take a look at it. Don't send us a 12 gigabyte file. We won't be happy. The video assignment is kind of a catch-all. You've got the game analysis, and that's for the project managers, and the level design assignment is for the level builders, and the prototype is for the tech designers. Video is more of an organizational assignment. It shows us that this is not a one-person show. You can figure out what you want to do is create a video that shows off your skills. It basically sells yourself to FIEA. This is what I bring to the table. That means that you can get someone to write music if you want. You can get different people to do the camera work. You can have other actors involved. You can write a script. You can do a lot of editing and cinematography and your own title screens. You're trying to find a creative way to show us what you bring to the table. And your ability to organize that whole effort and produce a quality video that shows those skills off shows us that's the type of multidisciplinary organization that we typically see in video games anyway. Now, be creative. Don't sit in front of a web camera with a little suit and tie and read your resume off a script. You're not going to interest anybody with that. Can you figure out a creative way to show us what you bring to the table? And I've seen some people do some pretty cool things. One student was coming to us from China, and he made this whole video that kind of cast himself as a character coming from a foreign country on a quest to learn how to be a game designer. And he had the little katana sword, and he did some filming on site at FIEA, and he had other characters in there. And there was this one point where he's talking to his sensei, and he says, am I ready? And the master says, I think you're ready now. It was just fun. It was all kind of cast in RPG game terms, and it showed him as like an evolving character that he now felt he was ready to go to FIEA and take the next step. Whatever way that you choose to present yourself, you can be eye-catching, you can produce it well, it can be a multidisciplinary effort with lots of people involved, give some little credits at the end. It shows us your creativity. It shows us your organization. It shows us your production skills. It shows us that you can think in a multidisciplinary way with sound and music and acting and camera work. Probably that's going to be about 3 to 5 minutes long. Don't give me something that's an hour long. I guarantee you I will not watch that long. And if you're only giving me 60 seconds, it's probably not telling me enough about you. Same thing as I would ask with the level design assignment, which is just turn this into a YouTube video and send us the link, and we'll watch it from there. So I'm looking forward to seeing these videos. There's a couple things to remember when submitting, especially to the production track. Um, of the three tracks, production, programming, and art, production tends to be the most competitive. There's the most people that are submitting to that track. So although there are four PRD windows, we tend to get a lot of our submissions in the first two. And then after that, we've filled up a lot of spots by then. We only have a certain number. We take 25 to 30 producers every year, and we might have 20 of them the first two portfolio review dates. So it gets progressively more competitive the longer you wait. If you wait until portfolio review date number 4, we might only have 1 or 2 spots left, and you might be up against 10 other people. So one specific tip for applying to the production track is try to get in portfolio review date 1 or 2, if at all possible. Don't wait until the last minute, because these things do tend to fill up, and you won't have a whole lot of time. You'll have a lot of competition. Another suggestion that I have as far as submitting, it's entirely acceptable if you have other materials that you want to submit. Maybe you take the level design test, but you feel like, I'd like to show off my chops in other areas. I'd like to show off that I can do some scripting, or I can do some modeling in Maya or something like that. There's spots in the application process where you can give us access to websites or YouTube video links. By all means, if you've got other things to show us, give us the links to your portfolio site, give us the links to some YouTube videos, and we absolutely will consider those. It's kind of like gravy. If we've got 2 candidates that are equal in all other respects, and one of them has a whole bunch of other materials to show elsewhere, well, that student tends to get an edge.